Hello, this is reb0rn, and welcome to Breaking Out, the show about North American StarCraft 2 players. Here on this show, we take a look at up-and-coming North American talent. Each week, we check out a new player to get a feel for their personality and their playstyle. On Thursday, we interview the player to try and find out more about who they are and why you should care about them. On Friday, we watch 3 of their games as we cover their playstyle in each of the 3 matchups. Saturday, we take a look at an awesome game that they've played and relax with a little bit of fun as we recap the week and get an analysis of the games. Breaking Out will cover 8 players before it culminates into the Breakout Invitational. With a minimum prize pool of $1,000, we find out who is the most likely player to break out of the North American scene. But enough of that. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Hope you guys enjoy the show. Hello, this is reb0rn, and welcome to Breaking Out, the show about North American StarCraft 2 players that you need to know about. Today on the show, we're going to be jumping into our Zerg versus Terran of the week, so let's go ahead and jump in and introduce the players as we spawn up here in the top side of the map. Heavy Rain on top of the red Zerg player representing Team Clarity Gaming, and the highlight player of the week. It is Clarity Gaming's reb0rn. And spawning down here in the bottom side of the map, Heavy Rain, as the blue Terran player. He has been a familiar face for many of us ever since the Wings of Liberty beta days. His name is Select, representing Team Dignitas. And just a quick remark about Select, he has seriously been around for forever for a lot of us StarCraft 2 players who've been following the game for a while. Select is a very, very familiar face. He loves to be his aggressive little self, constantly being annoying with drops and harassment from all kinds of different angles. And I'm really excited to see how this game is going to go, because reb0rn himself has stated, obviously in his interviews, he likes to describe himself as a very aggressive and reactive Zerg player. So how does a reactive but aggressive Zerg player react to an aggressive Terran player who also does not want to give his opponent a lot of room to breathe? It's going to be pretty interesting. Now, we do already have a pretty awesome opening coming out from Select. I mean, it's a pretty standard opening, as it looks like just getting down that gas geyser, getting up a barracks. Actually, that actually looks like it may have been a gas geyser before barracks, so this could actually be a pretty heavy tech play. We may very well just see the factory popping out, I think. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe my timing is completely off on this. I've had a very long day, but no, looks like it's just going to be a pretty standard Reaper opening, and yeah, that is going to be pretty standard. So we'll have to see. reb0rn is going to scout out that barracks, actually, even though it's kind of positioned nicely up over here by the cliff, which is actually a bit of a weird positioning. Maybe Select was trying to hide it. I don't really know. Maybe he's just trying to get that Reaper out as soon as humanly possible, as Terranly possible, and you know, every little second counts, because every single extra shot that you can get off on those drones does mean that you get a little bit closer to maybe killing off a drone before that queen does pop out. Now, reb0rn has opened up with that gas geyser, is going to be going into that early speed so they can deal with things like that Reaper, deal with things like the Hellion transition that is oh so common for Terran players to go for. Now, the Reaper is making its way across the map. It's going to be able to pop up its way into the main base of reb0rn without any kind of problems. I mean, Heavy Rain is just such a great map for Reapers, and he's going to start to wail away at one of those drones. Will reb0rn react in time? Yes, because this is pretty standard for every single Zerg player to actually deal with these days. And you can see over here, we have quite a few very orange drones, and oh, one of the drones does end up falling to that Reaper. That just goes to show you Select absolutely relentless with going after those drones, man. And he may even get another one. No, reb0rn does get the spine crawl out in time. Those 4 Zerglin's gonna finally be able to chase away that Reaper for a little bit. It's gonna have to regenerate its own health. But behind this, we have the factory plopping down, the reactor plopping down. So Select looking to go into that reactor Hellion style. Pretty standard play actually coming out of both these players. Even has that command center going down on the low ground. 2 Zerglings will go ahead and pop its head, or try and pop it on the head, I should say. Bop it on the head, maybe try and get a cancel off, and it looks like they may get lucky if the Zerglings attack the SCV in time. Oh, that literally says 99 out of 100. That is about as close as it gets. But you know, the Zerglings will get cleaned up, and not too big of an annoyance for Select, except it doesn't look like he's realized he's not building it. There we go, finish it up. And Select gonna be okay from that. Losing one kind of Zergling, or sorry, one SCV and a little bit of time on that command center finishing up, but not a huge deal over here. Now we do have reb0rn kind of just positioning his Zerglings over here, preparing for that Reaper to potentially dart back in, as we can even see Select moving across the map once again to try and get that Reaper back into the main base and scout out what is going on with reb0rn. But reb0rn has said, you know, he likes to open up hatch, pool, gas, pretty standard, and then likes to move into the pretty standard composition, which is Mutilating Bane. Now, there have been some Zerg players that like to go into things like the Roach Zergling, or Roach Zergling, Hydralisk, or whatever compositions in the mid to late game, and he just doesn't like it. reb0rn is not a big fan of it. He thinks that doesn't do too well against the bio style play, so he likes to avoid it. Just likes to stick with a tried and true Mutilating Bane. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of that. It's always a lot of fun, and it makes sense considering he likes to play much more aggressively, and those Mutals definitely allow him to be as aggressive as he would want to be. Now Select, again, also a very aggressive player, going to actually be laying down a couple of those barracks, going to be able to just get into that good old Terran groove where he says, well, you know what, let me pump out a ton of units, make some pushes across the map, going to get up the starport as well so he can eventually get out those medevacs, but you know, he's going to be able to make a nice little timing push at some point in the near future, probably in a couple minutes, I would say, maybe when those first two medevacs pop out, but the Queens gonna have to push back these Hellions first, as that hatchery actually took a decent amount of damage considering those Hellions do not kill off hatcheries very, very quickly. But everything, again, looking pretty standard. We have double evolution chambers coming down for reb0rn. He wants to power into those upgrades. And reb0rn did say in his interview that he does prefer the mid-game stage of this matchup a little bit more maybe than the late game. So I'm expecting him to just really, really go crazy all out with his aggressive style in the mid-game stage, once he actually manages to get up that layer tech as well as the Spire. Now we can see over here that he hasn't actually started his layer tech yet. In fact, he's actually going up for that Baneling Nest because it looks like he did scout out those extra barracks that were being thrown on. He saw that it wasn't just a straight tech up into that starport. So he's going to have to get up some early defenses and just going to use that time to maybe get up some early upgrades. We'll have to see how well it's going to work out, as these Hellions are still just being very annoying. Select is honestly really well known for his control, and I cannot blame him, man. He is actually an ex-Dota player, and if there's anything about Dota players that you should know, it's that they are really, really good at controlling small little groups of units. You wouldn't think it, because obviously you think Dota, well, you're just controlling one hero. Well, there's actually a lot of heroes you can control in Dota that have to micromanage a lot of different units in a lot of different places, including with abilities and everything. It can actually get pretty hectic and crazy, so Select very, very well known for his control. And he's actually going to be pushing in over here, so we'll have to see how good his control is right now, as right now he's getting some great shots off on those Zerglings. reb0rn are going to have to be careful trying to move down the ramp against Select right now, because Select is trying to move up, and that's probably where reb0rn wants to try and keep Select down at the bottom of the ramp and wait for him to come up the ramp. But nice Widowmine shot. Gets 11 kills with that one shot. That was over a couple of Banelings as well. Those Banelings from reb0rn do not quite have the Baneling speed up just yet, because, I mean, the layer is not even finished up just yet. Spinecrawler going to go down, and Select just being so annoying and just microing back and forth and really not giving reb0rn any kind of breathing room over here, as he just gets inch after inch as he keeps moving forward. Just a small handful of units is actually pretty impressive, but reb0rn, I mean, he's going to be finishing out that +1/+1 upgrade soon, and he should be able to push back this army of Select very soon as well, as, I mean, only really the Hellions are left alive, and they are going to have to be careful, as a couple of them do get taken out. The Widowmine still, once again, surviving, and still actually at 11 kills, so it looks like it didn't get a kill, just kind of hit some of those Queens, but Spire is finally going up, as that layer tech is now finished up, as well as that Baneling speed. Baneling speed honestly going to be super duper important right now. And I have to say that I like that reb0rn is still just continuing to spread creep along the pathways he can. Obviously this pathway, the main center pathway, is going to be difficult to spread creep down, just because these Hellions are controlling the space so well as even the handful of Marines that are now kind of reinforcing the position, as God, Select is just such an aggressive player. He does not want to give any kind of leeway over here. But I do want to actually note that as reb0rn is trying to deal with this push, that there is a small little squadron of units over here. So reb0rn just trying to find his own ways to be aggressive while this aggression is happening in his own front door. And some good Baneling hits, actually, pretty good Baneling hits going off. Managed to clean up all those Hellions. And honestly, those Hellions were the mobile units that were so difficult for reb0rn to deal with. And now we're going to see that reb0rn is at least going to be able to pump out over here with all these Speedlings and just try and push back those Marines. And he's going to actually force the Marines to go over to the main base. Select not paying attention for a split second, loses all of the Marines and even a medevac to go down with it. 2 medevacs actually. And that is an unfortunate loss for Select, but some really great control by reb0rn, just kind of anticipating the liftoff over into the main base. Already had a Baneling and a handful of Zerglings ready to deal with the exact right amount of units that he needed. But I also want to note again that during that aggression, reb0rn just said, well, you know what? 9 Zerglings, yeah, it'll be helpful to defend against this push that's being so annoying. But I could deny my opponent from, I can really stop my opponent from taking that third very easily, as long as I just send a handful of these Zerglings over to the other side of the map. And it's a really great play, and I love that it just showcases the fact that he likes to be aggressive even when he's being aggressed on. Even when he has to play a little bit defensive, he finds another way to be aggressive. Now, actually, we may end up seeing these 2 Mutals go down. Unfortunate positioning over there. One of them does live to tell the tale, and it looks like these drones are going to have to evacuate out. And oh man, Select is getting a really awesome position over here, especially with these Widow Mines, as he's going to be able to clean up so many of these Zerglings. Get taken out by those by that one Widow Mine shot, but the Marines do and eventually get cleaned up, but not before focus firing down a lot of those Mutals. Man, that Mutals cloud was looking so much scarier right before that engagement. Overseers and Zerglings managed to clean up the Widow Mines as well, and reb0rn does manage to secure a 4th expansion behind all of this, but man, that was a kind of annoying loss for reb0rn to kind of take over there. Yeah, Select didn't really get a whole lot of economic damage done, didn't really do a whole lot outside of taking out a lot of those Zerglings, but he also managed to take out those Mutals, and that is something that you cannot undersell. Now, one thing I do want to know is look at these upgrades for these 2 players. We have +1 weapons done for Select. That's all well and good. +1 armor is coming up as well. But reb0rn is just going to be able to power through on these 2-2 upgrades. Also has the flyer attacks coming in, has a ton of Banelings coming out, and now he can really just focus on getting out those Mutals and those Banelings. And now we're going to end up seeing the big surround, and there is the force lift up. The Mutal's going to try and chase those guys down, but I mean, without the Baneling or Zergling support over on the high ground, he's going to have to be careful. He's losing a handful of those Mutals. Oh man, and even the Zerglings do not really want to be engaging over there. God, the positioning from Select is just disgusting. I mean, has the high ground advantage over against all those Zerglings. He even has a Widow Mine to support from the low ground, and has the mineral patches to block those Zerglings from being effective while he takes out the Mutals. That is just disgustingly good positioning for Select. Really got to hand it to him over there, but we have Select dropping over here on this 4th expansion. reb0rn looks like he's pretty prepared to defend against it, and it is going to push that drop back before he actually ends up losing the drop. So that's some pretty good control by Select, but you know, I think that Select has finally kind of been pushed back a little bit. Yeah, he has a single medevac drop coming around on this side of the map, but you can see reb0rn still has these Zerglings. He can deny a 4th expansion for going up for Select for a little bit, and now he has the opportunity to do a couple of things with his units. One, he can start to get these Mutals maybe into position and start trying to pick off units as they try and move across the map, maybe small squadrons of Marines and whatnot, or he can even try and just push across the map. But actually, it looks like he gave Select the opportunity to just push in over here, down again to the same position we've been seeing since I think like the 7-minute mark. Select has just loved to push in through this position, and now he's going to be pushing in here once again. The creep spread, that is just really just goes to show how hard he's been pushing in over here, and he's going to be actually be dropping with these 4 Marines at this back at the same time as he drops over in the main base. As soon as he realizes that he can actually move in over there, he's going to be able to, but he needs to make sure he controls these units over the front really well before he can actually move in with those Marines. And now he does actually start to attack a lot of these drones over in the main mineral line, as well as the fact that, I mean, this drop over at the natural expansion is also continued to go down. And the medevac just healing that 1 Marine. Gonna be able to take out a Queen, it looks like. And also manages to get out of there with that main medevac drop. Actually, these Mutals have something to say about that. They are going to be able to pick that off. And I have to hand it to reb0rn. He hasn't lost too many drones, but he has definitely been taking just really weird bits of damage from those drops. He lost a handful of the drones, I believe. Yeah, 21 workers have been killed so far by that was 21 workers killed by reb0rn, so reb0rn actually having done a bit more damage in terms of the economic damage in this game. But Select has done a decent amount of damage. He's kind of pulled reb0rn out of position a ton of times, and actually just made it so hard for reb0rn to move out with those mutals like he would normally probably like to. But now, finally, I said this last time, guys, but this time I mean it. Select has given reb0rn the opportunity, finally, to move out across the map with these mules and be aggressive in his own right. Now, he's trying to move out across the map and maybe try and pressure this 4th expansion, but the mutals are getting in position to harass that main base, or potentially even the 3rd, which really just doesn't have any missile turrets, because Select has been so aggressive. He didn't need the missile turrets up until now, but now with the mutals coming in, he's going to actually need some sort of anti-mutals defense in his main bases. Yeah, they're going to be coming in over here, picking off whatever units are popping out of here. They might be able to take out add-ons and everything. And Select, he's going to try and push in over to this 4th expansion. And look at this Baneling count. He has a Spine Caller ready. He is making more Banelings. He has a lot of Speedlings, but there are a lot of Widow Mines around here as well. And the Mutal is just going to continue to be as annoying as possible. They've already kind of ripped to shreds a ton of those SCVs over in the main mineral line. Select trying to micromanage on 2 different fronts as he defends his natural expansion. This Thor is going to be able to push back those mutals for now, but he has to be so careful with his Marines over at the front, where he is trying to be aggressive, as now only we see a handful of those Marines survive. I think 4 of them survive at the front. The rest are just Widow Mines and a lot of medevacs, but that means that the 4th expansion is going to go down to this massive mutals count that's just starting to build up. reb0rn has finally been given the opportunity to be aggressive, and he is taking full advantage of it. Even has a handful of these mutals at home to actually defend, and I love that play that he's just being aggressive with mutals in multiple locations, not just kind of one grouping all of his mutals together and trying to be effective with only harassment and not really allowing those drops to be cleaned up by these Zergling Baneling back at home. He's actually controlling 2 little groups of mutals, but now with those drops taken out, he can reunite the mutals cloud and go for this 3rd expansion, or the natural expansion I should say, as he just does a ton of damage in an instant to that mineral line. Oh my god, as we can see over here, 42 workers already killed now. I mean, that's another 20 just in the past couple of minutes, and behind all this, an Ultralisk Cavern is going to be going down. I almost said an Ultralisk Shrine. That just goes to show I am a Protoss player at heart, but reb0rn has definitely been doing really well in this game, especially with those upgrades. I mean, he is only just now getting the 3-3 upgrades. He was sitting on 2-2 for quite a bit of time, but honestly, you can see where his gas was going. It was going to that mutals cloud. And, you know, as long as he keeps it alive, he's going to be in a great position in this game. I'm just not sure that Select has a whole lot to deal with it right now, because, yeah, he has a lot of Marines. He has a couple of Thors to try and deal with this, but, I mean, it's so hard for him to defend his main base and his 3rd expansion against this many mutals. And oh god, the medevacs were even very vulnerable over there. But this many mutalists is just ridiculous. I don't know how you try and defend against that. I mean, honestly, if the mutals wanted to, they could probably even try and take out these Marines. It wouldn't be the most favorable trade, so he's going to try and avoid it. But still, it just goes to show how many mutals he has. They could take that fight if he wanted to. He's going to also be dealing with these drops over the natural expansion as well as the main base. The Baneling does get cleaned up, though. Select, again, showcasing some pretty good control and focus firing down those Banelings in time. But Widowmine coming over here. A lot of these Marines also popping their heads in over here. They're going to try and take out some of these Spine Callers that are just there to kind of buy time over here, as reb0rn just waits for some of those Zerglings to buffer the damage for those Marines and make sure that the mutals don't get focus fired down. He does not want to lose too many of them. That is his big advantage in this game. And oh, medevac pickoffs everywhere from these mutals, and the Thors are just going to have to run in scared shock, as they're just not going to be able to do anything against that. Now they are going to turn and run and turn to fight, as they do get reunited with a handful of these Marines, handful of those Marauders. The Marauders really just going to be important to soak up some of those Baneling hits. But the Ultralisk Cavern actually does get focus fired down. We still have 6 Ultralisks on the way for reb0rn, so he's still going to have those Ultralisks out to do a little bit of damage, but he's going to have to go ahead and remake that Ultralisk Cavern if he wants to make any more after that. Those Ultralisks will have 3-3 upgrades. Do they have the chitinous plating, though? We'll have to wait and see, as I believe that, yeah, one of these Ultralisks is going to be popping out in a second. We'll check that out. Oh, boom, 3-3. No chitinous plating on them just yet, so that's going to be a little bit unfortunate. He can't actually begin researching that until he gets this Ultralisk Cavern back up, but, you know, still, 3-3 upgrades on Ultralisk, nothing to scoff at, although, you know, Select is already kind of prepared for it. He has some Thors, which do okay against the Ultralisk. They do okay, but mainly those Marauders going to be the key components of dealing with those Ultralisks. Now, for once, I mean, this game has been absolutely crazy. The game has settled down for a couple of seconds, but I mean, reb0rn, he just was not going to have any of that. Neither will Select. So Select going to be pushing across the left-hand side of the map, taking out an Ultras. reb0rn going to be pushing it over here with the Mutalisk and taking out the right-hand side of the map, not allowing any of those missile turrets to get up. Boom! One shot and going down on those missile turrets. The command center even going to get focus fire down. I mean, the SCVs are prepared, but oh, these Widow Mines are positioned in a great position, but Select actually scares off the Mutalisk before they get hit by those Widow Mines, as he just stimmed his army like crazy to get out from the left-hand side of the map back to the right-hand side of the map. So that is a nice little win over there from reb0rn. You have to remember that that medevac count got completely reset earlier on. Look at this. 4 medevacs out on the map to heal up all of these orange health and yellow health Marines and Marauders. That is just not an ideal situation for Select. And reb0rn, I mean, he can dash around and dart around with these mules all he wants to all day long, because honestly, they'll regenerate the health without any kind of extra energy or medevacs needed. As long as they stay alive, they are going to be quite useful. See, now he's going to be moving back into the main base. Look at that. Those add-ons still have not been made, and they're going to just go down right now. But boom! Tech Lab sniped off, and oh god, reb0rn just preparing. He's trying to bait out all these Marines to come back and defend against the Mutals that take out the natural expansion. But the real advantage that he is going for the big engagement, takes out the 4th expansion. A double play coming out from reb0rn as he manages to just take out the entire economy of Select. I mean, there's what? This natural expansion base left over. It's mining with this many SCVs on a single mineral patch. That's just not going to be working out very well. Even the main base's command center has been taken out. And you can see over here in the structures tab that there is exactly 1 orbital command left, and that is the one at the natural expansion. This is going to put Select into a very uncomfortable position. He has to just push out across the map now, and you can see he is down almost 80 supply against reb0rn. reb0rn is going to be out of position to deal with this, but oh, some burrowed banelings unburrowing just to get the good hits, and Select was a little bit unprepared for that. Does lose a substantial portion of his army, falling even further down supply, 120 supply down now. And even though the medevacs have safely loaded up all those Marines and Marauders against the Ultras and the Zerglings and the Banelings, the Mutalisk flock comes in over here to clean up. And that could very well just be GG. And yes, Select is going to call it GG. And Clarity Gaming's reb0rn gonna take this game. And honestly, that was a very, very fun game. It was a 30-minute game, which honestly is actually a pretty decently length game for a StarCraft 2 game these days. But really, let's be honest, that game felt like a 40-minute game. There was just so much happening between these two very aggressive players. And I have to say that Select was doing a great job in the early mid-game stages, I should say, of constantly pushing up. I mean, you can see the creep spread now, but the creep spread was literally just backed up to here for almost the entirety of the game because Select was so aggressive. He was shutting down that creep spread. But when we got into the late game stages that reb0rn says he feels a little bit more comfortable in, the mid to late game stages, reb0rn really just kind of started to shoot out of control, especially with his aggression. And especially when he got up that Mutalisk flock, was finally able to deal with some of those medevac drops and kind of build up that Mutalisk count. He was able to really showcase his aggression, and I think that was a lot of fun to watch. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that as well. But guys, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into the Zerg versus Protoss. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and check that one out, as well as the Zerg versus Zerg if you haven't seen that one already. If you're watching this on Twitch, just stick around. We're going to go to a short break, go to the bathroom, grab some water, and just calm yourself down a little bit after that game, because I know I need to calm myself down after that. And we will be back in just a little bit. Stay tuned, guys, for the Zerg versus Protoss of Clarity Gaming reb0rn's week.